Yetzer Hara. The Yetzer Hara. He worked. Chovos haLevavos went through. If I remember correctly, it was 10 different ways the Yetzer Hara tries to weaken our emunah, our basic belief system. And when that doesn't work, he then goes to try and weaken our actual meisim. And the second one that we're now dealing with is that he tries to get us to serve Hashem for covered. Normal thing. We're all motivated a lot by covered, for better or for worse. But in other words, he comes to you, you're serving Hashem, and he tries to convince you to it's a good thing. People will look up to you, they learn from you. Now, on its own would be fine, but the point is if you're doing it for covet, you're not doing it for Kadosh Baruch Hu, you're doing it for yourself. And that ends up being a bit of a flaw. Avodas Hashem means that you're serving Hashem. He's your master, you're doing it for him. Certainly you can't call it Yichur HaMaisa. Yichur HaMaisa, I'm doing it only for Hashem, if I'm doing it also for myself, but that's what it is. When you do it for covet, you're serving yourself. And I was also discussing the responses that we have to fight back. So we were up to page 180, 189. Actually, on the next page, we could start from here again. The Yetzer Hara knows well how to cite verse, page, right? And he tells you, look, there's a pasuk. Right? I've given you great renown, which implies that Hashem rewards the righteous with a good name. So you see, it's right to do that. It's right to serve Hashem, get a good name. Says the Chovos haLevavos. The response is that he says it doesn't mean a person should consider this a goal, serving Hashem to get the covet, make an effort to get it. Rather, a good name is like everything else that people desire, like wealth and glory. And it's something Hashem gives. It's Hashem's gift. So Hashem gives his servants. When Hashem's chachma understands that it's a good thing for them, that they're worthy of it. Like we found, he says, by Shlomo Melech, Hashem gives them a choice. As an Avu, Hashem gives them a choice of different options that he could ask for. And Shlomo Melech chose wisdom rather than wealth and glory. And yet, and Hashem's response to what that was, I've given you the wisdom, v'gama shaloi shal. The whole pasuk, v'gama shaloi shal tenasadi yachad. And also what you didn't ask for, the other choices, the A, B, and C choices. Gam oisha, gam kaved ashaloi yakamoicha, ish b'malachim koyamecha. He granted him the other things also. So Hashem, with his infinite wisdom, knows what's good for us and knows the situation, and sometimes gives us the oisha and cover. But that doesn't mean that we should be doing it for that. It's written, in its right hand, length of days, and its left hand, wealth and glory. Right? So it's true. It's true that many times a person will get that when he serves Hashem. However, it says, it says, but the Hasidim, the pious people, are not motivated. They're not doing it for the covenant. Elohim Abarisa, they only do it for Hashem, because Hashem commanded us, Hashem wants us to do it, and we're servants of Hashem, and therefore we're doing it. Shehu Meitav, that Hashem gives The Mishiyartzim and Shevados, and whoever he pleases of those who are devoted to service. And not only that, sometimes Zulas, and those who are not believers, they also could get covered. That's Hashem out of his infinite wisdom was running the world. Sometimes we'll give cover to the Hasidim, sometimes give cover even to the Koifrim, the Einam Aminim, Kafi, the Mischayebes, Chachmasa Yisbarach, Shalom Aleichem, in the back room, you can knock on the door. Kafi Shemachayebes, Chachmasa Yisbarach, as Hashem's wisdom ordains. Hashem has his own calculations how to do things, but we should not aim for it in our deeds. And Hashem chooses to give someone covered. Hashem has a reason. And that's what these psukim are saying. They're not saying that I should do Oived Hashem for covered. It just says that when I Oived Hashem, many times I'll get covered. But again, it's really a very logical thing. If you're serving Hashem for the covered, it means you're serving yourself. As it says, V'yishiv HaKavod Milfanecha. Covered comes from Hashem. What is the troll anyway? He says, another argument to the Eitzah about the covered is, let's say you're right. Okay, we already said you're not right, but let's say you're right. He says, even if my fame would spread everywhere, it's nothing. One time the Master is so fleeting. So I'll have that covered for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, and then what? How long will I live? Even if my name goes out to the world, that's even if my name goes out to the world, how long am I going to be around? So, like, what's the covenant all about? He says, and certainly, more so, that it's the big world out there. Not everyone's going to know about me. How much covenant am I going to get? Only a very small part of the extended civilized world. And it'll only stay for a short time. Then we forget have never been. So therefore, it's futile. Besides that, it's wrong, right? But it's not worth it. It's not worth investing. A smart investor does his homework, and he decides. He decides the pros and cons, the investments he has to make, the profit that he hopes to incur by doing those investments. So it says haLevavos, a person say to himself, it's not worth investing into covet. Covet is fleeting. How many people, will know about me? And then you're forgotten. V'amar Kosov, he continues, he says that it's also worthless. Human beings are mere breath, they're hevel. The words of people who give honor are falsehood. Falsehood, b'nei ish. Put them all on a balance scale. Together they weigh less than a breath. Moznaim is a scale, they have the two sides, and you put the weights on one side, the stuff on the other side. You put them all on Moznaim, mehevel yochad. They're all hevel. So who's clapping for you? Rav Miller says, can you imagine you have many germs in your carpet applauding you? It's worthless, right? So he's saying also, who's giving you the cover? Hashem gives you the cover. It's wonderful. Who's giving you the cover? There's a story I once heard. There was a famous chief rabbi, Shlomo Goren. And at one point he came up with a psak that really caused the whole Torah world to shun him, not to accept him. And he once expressed it to somebody that it bothers him that the Torah world, the Bnei Yeshiva, don't give him cover. And when the guy said to him, well, look at this, but everyone else, the whole government, you get so much covered from everybody. What's the yeshiva bachar? And he said, you don't get it. And that's the only covet. That's the only real covet. This stuff, everyone's going to be covered because they want something from you. They all have a reason why they're going to be covered. Justly, look at the politics that goes on. Right? It's all about, it's not again, it's like a funny, like we said, that covet isn't about the person, it's about yourself. You're giving him covet. Shulchan was a genius and Eli, he knew. That covet is not about me, it's about them. They want something. That's why they're giving covet. Says the Chovos haLevavos. And besides that, only genuine fame is only when Hashem gives you honor. For people to give you covet, it's worthless. What value does it have? Right? We say that in the morning. When a person dies, his life goes out of him, returns to dust. So the covet he gives you, what value does that have? It says in Koheles, in Zichron Rishonim, there's no memory of the ancient ones. Everybody's forgotten the people of antiquity. Nobody speaks about them anymore. Im Kain, says the Chovos haLevavos, Teirud nafshi by the kavanos yelav chisus nire v'tos muguna mimen. What a beautiful sentence. Any trouble I take and any effort I make to gain fame, right? Teirud nafshi, I'm forward my nefesh. The kavanos yelav and my intentions to get the covet is chisus, would be a clear degradation, and appalling error on my part. The tos maguna mimeni. I'm not making a mistake. I'm putting my cards in a losing situation. It will only be something to be ashamed of. A person should be ashamed of seeking covet because he's interested in something that is worthless. I've heard this quoted. It rings a bell by me. One of the Hasidim said to his friend, this next guy, have you been equal? Have you made things equal? Shove. Amalai says, the guy said, in what's the topic? In what sense do you mean that I find things equal? Amalai, on your eyes, said, by you, is praise and insult the same thing? When someone gives you praise, when they insult you, is it all the same to you? Amalai, he said, no, certainly not. There's a big difference. I like the praise. I don't like the gnus. I don't like the insult, right? That's most of us, right? The big difference to me, he said to him, so you haven't made it yet. You haven't reached the level of Hasidus yet. A person should reach the level at which it doesn't matter what people say about him. Of course, this depends on who the people are. If Torah scholars disapprove of a person, it's very serious. But the general public out there, it should have no meaning to him. Do your best, said this chassid to his colleague, and try to arrive at this lofty level. So it's the highest level of Hasidus and the most sublime and precious qualities, which is a little bit in the Chama if any of us don't feel we're there yet. And when someone insults us, it really bothers us. When someone praises us, we feel good. So we should know, okay, that's the El Yoina Shabbat Madregas. So it's okay. I'm not such a failure if I'm not there yet. But at least we should know what's at the top of the ladder of our Avodas Hashem. That that's worthless. It's worthless. Right? From Hashem, it's worthless. It's worth. It has value. Cover that Hashem gives us. But from people, it's valueless. Like we said, it's really all about them. If they give us covet, it's something they want.
Zelig Pliskin spoke about this. When, Motzei Shabbos and Chavetz Chaim, you weren't allowed, you had a mandatory Malav Malka.
Right.
In Yeshiva. And the Zelig Pliskin was the speaker one week.
Right.
And he actually opened his drasha, whatever you want to call it, by, go ahead, insult me. Call me names.
Do what?
call me names, insult me. Go ahead.
Uh-huh. Right.
And then he proceeded to speak about this topic. So it doesn't really matter. It's, went on and on.
Right. And again, it boils down. A person shouldn't need an exterior cover, right? Shouldn't need people to praise him. There's a story of Shmuel in Nikolsburg. He was the Balaflaw's brother when he came to Nikolsburg to become the Rav there. So he told them he wants a room that he could go into during the procedures. The whole Achtorah, and someone listened by the door, was curious, what does he want to do there? And he heard him walking back and forth saying, "Oh, you're such a goyin. Oh, you're such a tzaddik. Oh, you're such a Talmid Chacham." Like, you can understand, what is he doing there? What's he doing in the room? So afterwards, Terry, and got to learn it. So he went to him and he says, "Listen, I listened. What was that all about?" He said, "I knew I was in danger when I come and all the covenant that it can influence me. That it might, as big as big as he was, and maybe because he was so big, he was afraid of that covenant." So he said he went into the room. There's in Chovos, it says that L'oilim yeh kovod shel chavercha chovev alacha k'sholcha, which generally is translated means that you should care about the second person's covet just like you care about your own, like type of thing. That's the standard explanation. But he said there's another explanation. It should mean that the covet someone gives you should be just as if you were giving it to yourself. He says, and as ridiculous as it sounds when you work on it saying, "Oh, I'm such a tzaddik, oh, I'm such a genius," that's how you should treat it when other people say that to you. It should be the same thing. And that's what he was doing. He was strengthening himself, not to be influenced by all that thought that everybody was talking about him. It was his way of knocking it and making fun of it so that he won't be influenced. That's what he's saying here also. So the covered people should give to you. And the same thing's really true when someone insults you. So what if he insulted you? Like, does that make you less of a person? It doesn't make you less of a person. That person, if you respect that person, you feel that he has something to teach you. So take the lesson. You talk about Zelig Pliskin, somewhere he says, and my wife always quotes it, but in one of his books, that you have to separate the person from the words, right? If the words are true, what the guy's saying, so take the words, but don't take it from the person as if it was like he's insulting you or something. If he's saying something that's true that needs to be fixed, so fix it. It doesn't have to be an insult. Insult is because he said it. How dare he? Like he's attacking. So the same way, right? It's the same thing. The cover that someone gives you, the insults they give you. It has to be about you, not about what they're doing, not about what they're saying. And therefore, the chassid asked, and he asked his friend, who obviously was quite honest. He says, "Is it all the same to you? And if it isn't, so you have widow works." He quotes over here a pasuk, "Lases v'tzeincha," in Tehillim. To fulfill your will, Hashem is my desire, and your Torah is in my innards. That's what our goal has to be, right? From outside, approval from other people from the outside shouldn't be important. My whole goal has to be Lases v'tzeincha l'kai. If you pass through a certain place and see a crowd of people approaching you and applauding, do you feel elevated? If so, you have not yet arrived at the level you're seeking. If they're coming to ridicule you, tell you to get out, you should feel exactly the same. Pay no attention. What they think is nothing compared to the one criteria. What does Hashem think? That's all that counts. We have to always have that in front of us. What does Hashem think? Okay, so we're up to the third enticement. Means Hashem tomorrow. He says over here, because just another paragraph. When a Navi comes to rebuke somebody, the person being rebuked shouldn't quote the Chovos haLevavos. It's great. The Chovos haLevavos just told me. You know what everybody tells you, right? So now you're a big tzaddik. You quote the Chovos haLevavos. I don't care for covet. I don't care what people say about me. He has to accept rebuke because the Navi is expressing the word of Hashem. Let's say Rosh Yeshiva criticizes the Talmud. Talmud shouldn't quote the Chovos haLevavos and disregard the criticism. You should realize Rosh Yeshiva is speaking the word of Hashem. Otherwise, it's a very important consideration, and we should establish one criteria in our life. We should ask ourselves, what is it that we wish in the world? And the answer should be that we wish to find favor in the eyes of Hashem. That has to be the light, the guiding light of my life. Am I doing with Zion Hashem? Am I not doing with Zion? That's really the bottom line. Okay, the third enticement is distraction. It means Hashem.